All right, guys, in the next episode, we will be working on the seat frame and adding some gussets for the seat mounts, turning some custom linkages for the seat frame movement, and we will be working on modifying the front floor pans, and we'll finally get the beams and the seat cradle fully welded up and in the bus.
On horses, on the hunt for a VW bus. Yes, we are. Got my two sisters with me for this elusive bus that's apparently in a barn out here. Envelope full of cash.
Wow!
Yeah, baby.
Rat Haven.
Look at that.
Quick recap of the last episode. We laid out some panels and we spent the majority of an entire day making the front tub panel for the front wheel tub section of the bus.
Alright, I'm not really covering this much here on this build, but I don't have the e-brake here, so just patch that up, and I'm patching up the air line that went through there for the ventilation system. So that's all going to get welded up. A little patchy-roo, and then two little patches on here because my floors are a little different. And then this floor pan will be ready to go in, and I'm going to weld on the gas pedal hinge too. Custom turnbuckle type linkage for the VW bus project that I'm working on. So I got 3/8 24 little Heim joints with the stud on it coming off of the Heim. One's left hand and one's right hand thread. So that way when you turn the turnbuckle, it'll expand it and it'll retract it and expand it to alter the length, which is what I need to make it adjustable. So I got myself a left hand thread tap, and I have a regular right hand thread. So we're going to be cutting these up and turning them in the lathe and do some power tapping. Alright, there it is. One linkage done. I don't have the right nuts right now. I have to get some 3/8 24 jam nuts and a left hand thread for this side. But that's it. So of course could have used round stock. and machined a couple flats in it to get a wrench on. That's like what I did in my aluminum tie rods I made for the Jeep. But I thought the hex bar was kind of cool. I got all this stuff from McMaster-Carr. It's expensive, but it seems to be the easiest. It's usually here in one day. And so I got the Heims and the hex material from them. I didn't have to go try to find it at the industrial warehouse place around here or whatever. So anyways, hope you enjoyed that little machining and tapping. Of course, like I said, you could hold this in a vise, hand drill it in, try to do a nice center mark, try to drill nice and straight, and then hand run in your tap if you had to make it by hand. You could hold it in a mill and a vise and drill down through that way. But of course, if you have access to an old lathe, that would be your easiest bet. All right, I'm working on this, working on this tub here. Just made this little end cap. Boom. How about that fit? Oh yeah. Let's go. It's crazy the amount of detail work that goes into something like this. So I'm adding these big corner gussets because I need mounts for the seat. So the seat's going to mount through these plates and then through this bar here, which I just added. Everything's just tacked in. And these big triangles were scraps from that down there. So I got all my triangle scraps from my laser guy. So it's nice to have stuff like this laying around. Alright, so I'm working away over here. I realized I needed to add another bar through here. So I got this piece cut, ready to weld in, and I'm also going to make one for the end here, which will totally box this in. Alright, so a little detail here, but I just made some little round, these guys, and I'm filling in these holes. There's 3 holes along there. I think I can show you on this side. And I think this is where they shot in this could have been aftermarket, where they drilled these holes. There's one down there, so all these have to get filled on this side. I think that's where they squirted in the wax for rust proofing. So great that they did it, but looks like shit. So welding those up. All right, well, I finally feel like I'm making some headway here. So I gotta. Tomorrow I think I'm going to weld these all together, this piece to these 2 pieces. I got the floor all done today. I got the clutches in, the new e-brake, the new shifter, the safety shifter. Everything is tacked in. There's the clutch. So I got a hydraulic clutch. A little cross member there with the e-brake. There's the shifter stuff coming down. I got a little clearancing to do up there, those Sharpie lines. Steering box. Bunch of Swiss cheese right there. I gotta make a whole plate to go over that. But I think I finally feel like I'm getting somewhere.
Hey friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, you know the drill. And check that bell so that you get notified every time I put up a new video. My ultimate dream is to do YouTube full time, and I can't do it without you guys.
Boom. That looks sexy.
So hot.
Alright guys, the time has finally come to tear this all apart and get it all welded up. Right now, the whole front suspension is just basically tack welded. So, and I started working on the sheet metal, but I really need to get all the main components welded in before I can finalize all the sheet metal. So, all this has to come out, and then I can bench weld the bus box and the tubes and everything, and then we'll get it put back in. I'm gonna actually weld the bus box in, and then I can finish up all the sheet metal work. So that's what we're doing in this episode, is getting this all out, welded, and hopefully back in. And we got the other Eric. Two Erics come to the shop here, getting this thing apart so we can get it welded up. Alright, let's see if I can get this front beam out of here without killing myself. I'm supposed to have surgery on my shoulder in a week or two, about 10 days. And for a rotor cuff tear, I can't lift my arm out to the side. One of the, I don't know, cons of doing all of this is that you have to take stuff apart like 10 times because you're designing it and building it and figuring it out as you go, you know, versus just a restoration where you're just cleaning up a part or putting some new bushings in it or whatever and putting it back in the car painted. Like, oh, big deal, you know, like that's not hard. This is a pain in the ass. Oh boy. I got it back in the bus, all welded up, so now I'm going to be welding it to the frame. I'm going to use the MIG for that. So right along this seam along in here, I'm going to MIG weld a little bit on the bottom. All this stuff TIG welded. Some of it I welded in place here once I got it back in, but it's in for its life. And something I didn't talk about either is these beams, the way I have them designed, I always could redo these beams and do something different. This design is kind of unique as far as the way that it's pivoting on the beams themselves. So I could make the beams fixed and do some other way to rotate the torsion springs up and down and still do the links for the seat. But this box will be permanent, so if I need to change the beam design, I can always do that in a later date. So it's kind of flexible in that way, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and MIG weld this up. I'll video a little bit of that, but I didn't video any of me welding up the box because it's pretty much the same stuff you guys have seen me do over and over. But let's go. Alright, you get the idea. Alright, here is the bottom beam that I have all tacked up. Time to weld it up. I just MIG welded a bunch of that, so the box is permanently installed. I still have to cap this all up, so I'm going to have to make some metal to cap that in on both sides, but it is getting there, guys. This is the I haven't even talked about this. This is the, it's upside down. That is the frame that holds the seats. So that's what goes up and down. All right, let's weld this. All right, so here is this is the top front beam. I still got the springs in and the arms on, as you can see. And what I realized is, as you can see how I have this adjuster all the way, that when I designed all of these parts and where I wanted them on the beam, I did not adjust for the springing. So my plan was that these were going at ride height. So these would be 90, that would be 90 degrees to these, to the plane, the center line to the center line of the tube to the center line of this, with this adjuster in the middle. But we had to move it down because of the weight of the vehicle, and we don't even have it, you know, loaded yet. So I'm gonna have to cut these out and move these adjusters down, because rather than moving all of this stuff, I think would make the most sense. So that's what I'm gonna do right now.
decide what color to wear or which burger to eat. Look, doesn't matter, man. Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion. Autonomy is an illusion.
Alright guys, I thought I would try to put this into perspective here. This is the top beam of my suspension. And so this yardstick here, 36 inches is about how long the beam is. I think it was like 35.5 inches, whatever that is in millimeters. And I took off about 6.5 inches right there off of the tube. So cut the tube down, and that's why we're having to modify these springs and put that, it's hard to see, put that dimple on there. And the dimple goes for this grub screw here, and then there's one on each of these suspension arms. All right, this is the bottom beam here. I just got welded up, and that is the dimple that we need on both ends. So we're gonna cut that end, let's say, take the 7 inches off, 6.5 inches off, and then have to redo the dimple. And then what that dimple is the grub screw. This is one of the suspension arms. The grub screw goes through that hole, and then it's got a point on it, and it goes into that, and that's actually what holds the whole front suspension together. It's the one grub screw in the middle, and then one on each end, and that's what's holding that whole suspension from just pulling apart. Kind of crazy. Alright, we are putting this back together. I got it pretty much all welded. We decided, like I said, to weld it in place, so I gotta redo some of these. I suck at MIG welding, but I TIG welded all of this, so Gavin's putting that back together. Hi Gavin. My son's home from college, and we're gonna put the top beam back in, and then I can finally get this floor in, get the piece sheet metal that goes here, and get this baby rolling. Let's go.
Just wish you knew.
Alright, so I'm gonna try to reenact what happened to me last week and show you the results. So, bus is on the lift, and I'm working on it, and the rotor, I had taken the wheel off, and the rotor was up here, and I was hammering on something, and it fell off and hit my big toe. And as you can see, it is disgusting, and it's gonna come off, I think. Yeah. Hi, Gavin. Yes.
You got your foot out on the dirty ass floor?
I do. I know. So it went and crushed my toe. Ooh, God, you. Yeah. Ugh. I think that's like.
Oh, it's moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's.
Oh, does that not hurt?
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. I think.
Oh.
I think I'm gonna have to take it off.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Here, look at it.
Put
guys.
that. Oh Jesus. Put that in the tone. The
The thumbnail. Oh, it's a thumbnail. Hey, it is a thumbnail.
That could be my thumbnail shot. Ugh. Guys, this is what a year and a half of work looks like to get this bus sitting on the ground. It has been a lot of work, and I got a lot of work to go, but today was a big day. Getting it on the wheels, getting it rolling, and getting it temporarily hooked up to some hydraulics to make it go up and down. And I just love it. Clean the roof. There goes the compressor. Let's see here. It is on the ground, baby. Oh yeah. Love it. So much more work to go, but anyways, if you've been following along in the series, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
In the next episode, we will be doing a bunch of cutting, machining, welding, and fabricating to create a badass engine cradle.
I'm wrapping it up for the day, but this thing has been kicking my ass way too long on this, but happy with the progress, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace.